What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com. Here are my DFS picks for NBA Tuesday, March 1st. These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button and hit that bell icon so you don't miss our new videos. In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for today's NBA slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, we have a 6-game slate here tonight. We got back on track with our picks yesterday. Our value play, Precious Achiuwa, he crushed it on DraftKings. He's still a good pick here tonight. He's still low salary on DraftKings, but we'll get into him later. So let's get into the point guard position. I like Dennis Schroder from the Houston Rockets playing the LA Clippers, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall. They give up the 10th most fantasy points to opposing point guards. Dennis Schroder has averaged 26.8 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 29 minutes per game with a 22% usage rate. He's projected at 27.2 fantasy points here tonight. But now remember, he's with the Houston Rockets now, and he is playing more minutes. Looks like he got 37 minutes last game, so that's encouraging. Hoping that he's going to get over 30 minutes here tonight. So I think he can score 32 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $5,900 DraftKings salary, $400 less on FanDuel. So I like that price on both sites. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 229.5 points scored in this game. I think this is a pretty good game to stack here. And Dennis Schroder has scored 38, 22, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 37, 27, and 29 minutes. So the question is, how many minutes is he going to play? Is he going to play 27, 35, 37 minutes? We're not sure, but he is in a good matchup in a fast-paced game. And he did score 38, 29, and 39 fantasy points in his last 3 games versus the Clippers. So I like the upside of Dennis Schroder here versus the LA Clippers. Okay, let's take a look at the shooting guard position. Also eligible at the point guard position, I like Spencer Dinwiddie. Now with the Dallas Mavericks playing the LA Lakers, who have the 4th worst defense overall. They give up the absolute most fantasy points to opposing shooting guards. Spencer Dinwiddie has averaged 28.7 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 30 minutes per game with a 21% usage rate. He's projected at 27.6 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's only $5,600 DraftKings salary. He's $100 less on FanDuel. So I think he's got some big upside in a low price tag. Vegas thinks there's going to be 217 points scored in this game. And Spencer Dinwiddie has scored 39, 29, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 31, 25, and 30 minutes. Now I think Dennis Schroder and Spencer Dinwiddie, these guys are kind of similar fantasy players where they've got big upside, but they also have a low floor. Just depends on how many minutes they play and if their shot is going, if they can get going or not. So I think they're both good tournament plays for their price points and their matchups. So I like Spencer Dinwiddie here versus the LA Lakers. Oh, and Spencer Dinwiddie has scored 39, 37, and 29 fantasy points versus the Lakers. So both these guys, Dennis Schroder and Spencer Dinwiddie, also have good player versus team history. So I think one of the two is going to do well. Could even be super risky and play them both in the same lineup, but I do like both these guys.
Before I continue with the picks, I'm excited today because we added a new contest for everyone watching.
If you want to enter the drawing for $25 PayPal,
all you need to do is like this video, hit that subscribe button, and make a quick comment below to be entered into the drawing. We'll reply to a random comment and let you know that you won.
And we'll send you $25 PayPal.
So it's that easy, and we pick a new winner every Saturday and announce them in our video. So get your comment in now so I can add another entry for you.
Okay, let's take a look at the small forward position. I like Andrew Wiggins from the Golden State Warriors playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 2nd most fantasy points to opposing small forwards. Andrew Wiggins has averaged 29.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 32 minutes per game with a 23% usage rate. He's projected at 28 fantasy points here tonight. Now, I think he can score 32 fantasy points or more and get you 5 times value or more. Now, he's $6,200 DraftKings salary, but he's $700 less on FanDuel. So I love that FanDuel price. Only needs about, only needs about 25 fantasy points to get you 5 times value or more on FanDuel. So that's way under his season average. So I love that FanDuel price. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 231 points scored in this game. So this is another good game to stack. Fast-paced game, good matchups. Andrew Wiggins has scored 29, 22, and 12 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 33, 25, and 15 minutes. So I'm hoping we can get him for his season average 32 minutes this game. Should be able to crush value, especially on FanDuel. And let's see how he's done against the Timberwolves. Yes, he's done pretty well. Scored 40, 23, 44, 42, and 25 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Timberwolves. So 3 out of those 5 games he would have crushed value. And every game he pretty much would have hit value at his FanDuel price. So I like Andrew Wiggins here versus the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, moving on to the power forward position. We've given you lots of value in this slate so far, or reasonably low salary players. So I'm going to give you a stud here at the power forward position. Also eligible at the small forward position. I like Jayson Tatum from the Boston Celtics playing the Atlanta Hawks, who have the 10th worst defense overall. They give up the 12th most fantasy points to opposing power forwards. Jayson Tatum has averaged 46.2 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 36 minutes per game with a 32% usage rate. He's projected at 44.6 fantasy points here tonight, but I think he can score 50 fantasy points or more, get you 5 times value or more. He's $9,800 DraftKings salary, and he's $900 less on FanDuel. So I love that FanDuel price. Vegas thinks there's going to be 223.5 points scored in this game. Jayson Tatum has scored 37, 56, and 47 fantasy points in the last 3 games, playing 34, 38, and 34 minutes. Now, I like this pick because he's got pretty good track record here versus the Hawks. Scored 64, 38, 55, 20, and 51 fantasy points in his last 5 games versus the Hawks. So 3 out of those 5, he's getting you over 5 times value. I think he's got a pretty good chance to do that here tonight, especially on FanDuel. So I like Jayson Tatum here versus the Atlanta Hawks.
Real quick guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, moving on to the center position. A couple of value plays for you here at the center position. Take a look at Kevon Looney from the Golden State Warriors playing the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have the 8th worst defense overall. They give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Kevon Looney has averaged 20.9 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 21 minutes per game with a 13% usage rate. He's projected at 21.8 fantasy points here tonight. That's just about 5 times value. He's 4,500 DraftKings salary, 200 more on FanDuel. We know Vegas thinks there's going to be 231 points scored in this game, and Kevon Looney has scored 34, 21, and 30 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 26, 15, and 27 minutes. He's averaging just about 1 fantasy point per minute, so if he can get 25 minutes or more in this game, I think he can exceed his value here tonight. He's been playing pretty well. So I like Kevon Looney here versus the Minnesota Vikings, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Okay, and this was our value play on DraftKings yesterday. He crushed it, scored 37 fantasy points in 23 minutes. Now, he is on a back-to-back, but he only played 23 minutes last night, and his DraftKings price has not moved. So I think he's another good value play here tonight. I like Precious Achiuwa from the Toronto Raptors playing the Brooklyn Nets, who have the 11th worst defense overall. They give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing centers. Precious Achiuwa has averaged 20.5 fantasy points per game on the season, playing an average of 23 minutes per game with a 17% usage rate. He's projected at 20.2 fantasy points here tonight. That's 5.1 times value. He's 4,000 DraftKings salary. Now he is 1,600 more on FanDuel. So this is a DraftKings play only for me. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 220.5 points scored in this game. And Precious Achiuwa has scored 37, 37, and 20 fantasy points in his last 3 games, playing 23, 30, and 23 minutes. I think this is a good buy low opportunity on DraftKings. He scored 37 and 28 fantasy points in his last 2 games versus the Nets. So I like Precious Achiuwa as a value play on DraftKings here versus the Brooklyn Nets.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.